Welcome to the Bagchucker podcast, where we break down life on the road in the NHL.
We're your hosts, Chris Mason and Hal Gill, a.k.a. Mace and Skillsy, former NHL players, current broadcasters for the Nashville Predators, lifelong Bagchuckers, dads, brothers, and sons. We've seen it all from the bus rides to the big leagues.
Each week, we'll dive into what's going on around the league. We'll give you travel tips, places to go, things to do, and stories from years of living out of a suitcase.
What do you say, Mace? Lobby in 10.
Just chuck your bags and let's go.
All right, welcome back to the Bagchucker podcast, episode number 2. Mace, what did you think of episode 1?
I got a lot of...
Be honest.
I got some mixed feelings. I actually think it really went well. I thought at the end of the episode, I'm like, man, that went well. We didn't have to do any retakes. It was a one take. We did it all the way through. I thought that was good. We got kind of the content. We introduced what a Bagchucker is, how it's evolved, all the things. But I watched back and my video, because we're going to do this both on YouTube and all Spotify and all that kind of stuff. I had my camera mounted on my laptop, which is right here, what I'm looking at right now. So every time I'd put my hands on the table, it would jiggle around and it was awful. I'm like, oh my God. So I'm like, damn. And then, so I was cutting and I was trying to do the editing, and I figured out how to do like the little social media, like snippets or whatever. And then I sent you one. And what'd you tell me about yours? Like, how do you think it went? How do you think it went?
Just marbles in my mouth. The fact that I'm talking on any forum, never mind doing my job of broadcasting, it baffles me. I just had the marbles in, so I'm going to work on that. Baby steps. This will be better, but I thought overall it was. You know what? If someone likes it, that's great. If they don't like it, that's great too. We got stuff to say. We want to talk about some things, so let's just let it rip.
Let's let it rip.
Right? I mean,
you know what's funny? It's the worst watching yourself. Because I watched you, I was like, "Oh, this is a great clip." That's why I sent it to you. I'm like, "Oh, this is a great one." It was about, we'll play it on social media, but it was about McDavid, and then about your experience of how you lost and then won the cup, and like it's like a drug. And I thought it was great. And you're like, "Oh my God!" But that's what every time I was talking, I was like pure cringe. I'm like, "Oh my
God." So I'm working on it. Anyway, let's go. What do we got today? What are we talking about? Let's talk about, hey, I think this is kind of an overview of everything we want to talk about on the podcast, but we had summer off, we got to get into summer. We got to get into training camp. Training camp is different, and it seems like it's different every year, and it's progressing, maybe for the good or the bad. We can talk about diet. We have to get into your diet specifically. The people need to know about your diet. What else do we got? Training. There's a big difference between training now and when we were in the league, isn't it? So anyway, I did see a PK Subban sighting of a video about the Patrick Laine thing that I really wanted to get on top of and try to break that down. So I need your help on that. But let's go into summer. How was your summer? Anyway?
My summer was fantastic, and I use the last 2 years especially. I've used it for personal growth, trying to educate myself, trying to be better and do all those things. And I did something this summer that I've never done before in my life. And I think I told you about it when we got together with you and Lindsay. We had after one of our events or whatever. And so I went to Switzerland, and I went by myself to this group. It was like this group of all these people from different backgrounds, different nationalities that have different expertise in these, categories. It was kind of a bonding, networking type of a thing. And it was incredible. I was like so nervous and scared to go just because I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like, this is going to be, I didn't know. But I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it because I'd never done anything like this before in my life. And I did it. I went to this retreat, and we took a class in firearms, which was one of them. And the other part of it was we got a master class in cigars. And I'm not a cigar smoking guy. I don't know anything. I've probably smoked until this retreat 2 cigars in my life. But I went there anyway. It was really good. It was men. So they not only did that kind of stuff and learning certain special skills, but they also did parts where you have to like open up in a group which is really tough to do. And you're seeing other people struggle with it, and you see someone struggle and then you go, and it makes it easier because you kind of get that bond and everybody's trying to there for the same reason pretty much. But I did that. So that's a lot to unpack. I went to,
Yeah, that's a whole
you probably
episode,
weren't even
bud.
thinking that, were you? Did I tell
We
you?
should
Did
do
I tell
that
you
one
about all
in.
that?
You told me you did something, but we never, the way things go, we got
Well, there's
sidetracked. But
part of it.
I was expecting to make fun of you for the kumbaya
Oh, there
shit
was.
that you were doing, and then you just threw in, you came over the top rope with the guns and
Yeah.
cigars. And I'm like, okay, that's not so bad. I can open up if I have guns and
Yeah,
cigars.
it was
But
awesome. We definitely need to get into that. It's part of the grim hustle. If you ever seen those videos on Instagram, that's how I kind of got
yeah,
I found out about this retreat or whatever. It's really cool. Then I went to Park City with my girlfriend. We went hiking, did all the things biking and all the things that you would do there. That's kind of our annual summer thing, and obviously the kids and the family, all the sports did that, and it's just a great summer. Um, but I think
good.
this is probably the most I've ever excited to be back to hockey. To be honest with you, it's been a long time. I kind of had the itch with everything that happened this summer with the Preds. I'm excited to get back. How was your
Yeah.
summer?
Good, good. A lot of family time. I do two camps, one in Nashville and one with AJ Malesko in Nantucket. So those are 2 weeks that I've been doing for a few years now, which was a lot of fun. It's nice to get away. We have a place up in Maine, Moosehead Lake, beautiful spot up there where that's my haven. Right, I go up there and get with the family. No phones, no service. You're kind of off the grid. And so it's nice to shut down. And I'll tell you this, there's nothing better than having a beer on the water with a grill, just sitting there, taking it all in, watching sunset. So it's a good chance to decompress and spend some time with my family, my mother, my father. So overall, a great trip. But I'll say, like you, I'm excited to get back to work. I think, summer, you decompress, you take a break, you blow off some steam. But I agree. For whatever reason, this year seems like it's going to be a good one. So I'm excited to get back to it. And let's be honest, I do well with structure. I need like a routine. I need a schedule. If I don't have a schedule, I get squirrely at times. I can do 7 to 8 days of vacation, but then I start to get antsy. I need to have my routine and get back to it. So I'm excited to get my routine back in
Yeah,
form.
we're creatures of habit. It's inbred in our DNA, I think, especially playing hockey for so long. And there's another episode too, is how you handled that after you retired, because that's when I struggled with it. I didn't think that I would, because I'm like, I got to play, till I was almost 40 years old. I got to retire on my own terms. And then all of a sudden you're off and you don't have the text, you don't have the itineraries. Like, I'm like, oh shit, what do I do now? It's a different mindset,
Yeah.
but yeah, we'll get into that
Well,
deeper.
the summer, even the summers, everyone says, "Oh, you have time to decompress." But I worked out Monday to Thursday. It was at 7:30 or 8 a.m. every Monday to Thursday. I had to be accountable. I had to be at Mike Boyle's strength and conditioning, and we had a group of about 10 guys. And all summer, I had that structure. And so when you don't have to be anywhere, you don't have to train, you don't have to eat right. You can fall off the rails. And it's a struggle for a lot of guys, but specifically, I rely on workouts, working, training, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, let it rip. Go out with the boys or go out with the family, and you kind of get away from it. And that's what summer used to be. And now summer, where I don't have to work out, it's like I'm getting fat.
You're not.
Mace.
You're disciplined.
My body's
Yeah.
hurting it.
Well.
And I'm not getting fat. I just feel
Well.
fat. Isn't there a difference between being fat and feeling
Yes,
fat?
sir. There could be.
When you're
Yeah.
just like I'm just sluggish and slow. I need to get back into the gym and get a routine, because not being fat but feeling sluggish and
Yeah.
gross is very
Yeah.
real for
We
me.
don't have that. That's the thing too. We'll have to do a retirement episode, because you don't have the competition. You don't have that compete with yourself the same. Well, obviously, when you're playing, you get to compete against guys you hate and guys you respect, and just
Yeah.
to win was the ultimate goal. Now, when you're playing against yourself, it's a battle upstairs, right? You got to try to figure
Yeah.
that out in your
Yeah.
mind.
And if you have a summer off and you can chill out and do nothing, it's great, but you lose that urge to do something better. So I'm proud of you for going over and taking that trip, that retreat. That's really cool. We have to get into the
We
nitty-gritty
will.
of that.
It was awesome.
Uh, but moving on, training camp has started and we're in the middle of it. And uh, every time training camp comes out, I always laugh at, John Tortorella still does the 45-second laps. Like just how many laps can you do? Just trying to break his team. Uh, what do you think of the progression of the way training camp is? It used to be a lot more games. It used to be more of a battle, and now it feels like teams are just trying to dial it in. They have their little things that they do, bonding, team bonding stuff, but I feel like they're dialing in more on the season than ever.
Yeah, and I think you should, because you look at any training camp, pretty much the roster turnover now, you know exactly who's going to be on our team. There might be one or two spots that you're saying, okay, well, we're going to take this guy or this guy, young player
Yeah.
coming in, and the salary cap now, when we're playing, it kind of came into play. But if you can get a guy that's performing well at making $800,000 opposed to a guy that's making 2 million, he may be more valuable, because even though he may not be as good or ready in the role that you want him, but because of the money he's making. But it's so hard,
Yeah.
because I think that when you look at training camp, and to your point, what it used to be you're coming in here to make a roster spot. If you're on the team, you want to show the coach you came in shape, you're ready to compete, all those things. But now, it like, really, does it matter? You got to, nobody comes out of shape anymore. Like, we can talk about the
No.
evolution of that. I feel like when I was growing up and trying to make a team, and this is something I had to learn as a goalie, because I got called out at the end of my second pro season in the American Hockey League. I was like, I've always been a blue collar, hardworking guy. Like, that was my thing. But I was a goalie, so I didn't do it in the gym. I did it on the ice, and I did it, the way that I competed that way. And I remember Mark Nemish was the strength coach for the Nashville Predators, and I was playing my first year in Nashville's organization, which was their first year in existence. So at the end of the year, I had a decent year for my age, 21 years old. And he calls me in. He's like, "Hey, Mason, we got along great." And he said, he's like, "Hey," he's like, "how'd you think the year went?" He's being all nice and everything. I'm like, "I think it went great." I'm like, I obviously I could do this better and this better. And that was the first year that I was kind of taken over as a starter. And we get around to that. He goes, "Yeah." He's like, "How'd you think, training went?" I'm like, "Yeah, it went good." I'm like, he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "You work so hard on the ice." He's like, "I love your work ethic." And he said, "But let me ask you something." He's like, do you want to make the NHL?" And I said, I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, "More than anything." I'm like, "I want to make the NHL." I'm like, "This is my, like, everything." And then he looks me dead in the eye, and he goes, "Well, you got to get in the fucking gym." And I was like, "Whoa." Yeah.
Whoa.
And I know that, and I knew that, like, it's one of those things where somebody calls you out on something, and I'm like, holy shit. But I didn't understand then. And this was 1999. So this is when you
Yeah.
remember goalies just, they go in there for the token ride, the bike, and blah blah blah, and
Yeah.
everything. So I got that, and I came back that whole summer. It was the most incredible, I guess, transition for me as a player. I went from 205 pounds, not in great shape, maybe almost 210 pounds, not in the great shape, to one. I came back to camp at 180, did a complete transformation. That was probably too late, but we didn't have the specialized stuff. But that was the biggest wake up call I think I've had in that regard. And it was because of training camp. That's what pushed me. So I feel like that year I might have kind of let the on ice stuff go a little bit. But I think now there's more balance, but nobody comes out of shape anymore.
No, I think my first test was the Boston Bruins. 1997 was, uh, 16 110s. You just had to run and do it under 16 and a half seconds. And it was, if you had trained at all, it was easy. And then practice after that was really the hard part. And Pat Burns said, like, I don't care if you can run. I want you to be tired when you get on the ice so I can see what you do when you're fatigued on the ice. And so and training camp for me was like just every time I turned around, someone's knuckles were in my face. It was just like a battle, and you had to compete and try to earn a spot. I had no right having a spot, but there was a holdout and a blue chip, a first or second rounder held out, and there was a spot open, and I took
Yeah.
it. The best part is, speaking of talking to coaches, uh, Pat Burns called me in and he said, "Kid, it looks like you made the team. I don't see it, but Jacques Leperrier, the assistant coach, says he says I don't see it, but Jacques really likes you. So here's the deal: you do whatever he tells you to do, and if you don't, you're gone. And I'll tell you another thing: if you're not the first on the ice and the last off, then you're gone. This won't last." And so, uh, I always kid about that. It's like the most honest conversation I had up until that point. But I appreciate it. Pat Burns was one of the toughest people I think I've ever been around, and a tough coach. But he was honest, and he put it right in my face. And I think there's something to be said for, okay, you have this spot and you can lose it in a
Yeah.
second. And so you better dig in and find a way and make it happen. So that was my first experience. And after that, it's funny. We talk about all the bonding that you go through and the difference between a rookie and a vet. You do the team bonding stuff, right? And we've all done that. The military
Yeah.
stuff, or some of the kumbaya stuff, and it's different in every training camp. But rookies and vets they look at that different. Right? I mean, it's a different thing when you're coming in. I got to make this spot, or you're a vet going in. I'm going to have some fun at training camp and get ready for
Yeah,
the season.
exactly. And I think it's also like, as a veteran, it's what your status is. Like if you're a superstar, you got nothing to worry about. I've heard stories of Wayne Gretzky doing the bench press test. He's
Right?
like, put me down for one. He didn't even do, he doesn't have to do it, right? He's like,
Yeah.
he's going to get his whatever
Yeah.
200 points a year and all this kind of stuff. What does it matter if he can lift, 185 or 225 pounds? It does not matter. But when you're a
Right.
younger player, and that's how I made the NHL. It's how these guys make it when you're not on the radar. It can put you on the radar because, first, like, okay, well, he had some success in the minors. Can he play against NHL competition? And I think, to your point, they put more stock in exhibition and training camp because it was more of a battle kind of a thing. They encouraged it to be like that. And I think now, like, why would you want to get anybody hurt? But a guy like coming into, let's say, the Preds training camp, or veterans now, Stamkos and Yossi, and you just want to get through it. You're in a situation with a lot of these teams. Just start the regular season. Just go get your reps. Get the hands feeling good. Get the looks on the power play.
Yeah.
Get
Get
up
up
to
to speed.
speed.
Get up
But
to
there's
speed.
also guys like, in the Pred situation, like Parson and Tomasino, two really good prospects playing in the NHL. Like, these guys are fighting for a spot, so it matters to them. And that's how I was when I was in training camp, and that's how you were. That's how you made it. That's how I made it.
Yeah.
Is because you outcompeted somebody that might have been in the conversation. And I love the Pat Burns thing, because at the end of the day, as a player, whether you personally like to hear that or not, at least you know where you stand, and that's all you can. And then it's up
Exactly.
to you. Then it's up to you. All right, listen to this guy, do this, do that. If you don't do it, you've been told. There's no sugarcoating it. It's, where you stand, but it's different. But you see guys going out there with that different mindset you're talking about, trying to kill each other when someone's just wants to go out there and get a couple reps.
Yeah. And the fitness thing is funny because I remember
Oh,
every year and every season I played, I was afraid I was on the chopping block. I could sign a 3-year deal and go to training camp and be like, oh God, this kid looks good. I bet like if my groin was hurt, I'd be like, I got to fight through it. I'm not taking a break here because this kid's going to steal my job. And fear was real for me. And the other thing I always laughed at is, I'd be in the locker room and some monster would come through, just some jacked kid, and I'd be like, "Who is that kid? My God, I'm scared to death." And I get out on the ice and I, you knock him over in the corner, and he would just fall down. You'd be like, "How is this kid that jacked?" And he falls over. Meanwhile, I got a guy like PJ
oh,
Axelson was one of my favorite.
he's
My
awesome.
rookie year was with him. So skinny, just like thin, and good lord, you cannot get him off the puck. You just like he would battle and compete, go underneath you, wiry as hell, and these guys would steal jobs and jump out there and be beasts on the ice. And so I always laugh at like, okay, that's great that you can lift weights, and you do need that. You do need to take it to the next level, but there's something, the farm boy strength. That the Western Canadian boy, all about the farm boy strength. That guy looks like he's got nothing, but he can.
Oh,
You're not
well, do you
budging him
remember
at
the
all.
name? This is so funny because the training camp stories are the best. Wade Brookbank, who was the same as me, we kind of came in where we both got our opportunity to actually make the NHL. I played in the minors for a bunch of years. He's the same age as me. I think he scouts for Chicago now, and
Yeah,
he's the farm strength guy. I'm like, he's coming in to be a tough guy. His upper body, he's not that big. He doesn't like no real definition or not one of those kind of guys. But holy crap, could he chuck him? And with anybody, you know,
grip
just
strength.
farm
Just
strength.
once you got on you, it's like a seatbelt, just lock you down, and then you're
Yeah,
not going
just like
anywhere.
straight ball, like just straight punches, like just knew how to do it. Like, and it was crazy. One of the funniest lines is on hockey that I ever heard was from him. And I got picked up. Remember they used to have the waiver draft after training camp, and so
Yeah.
you protect a certain amount, and then other teams could pick you up. Anyway, that's how I came back to Nashville. I went off to Florida, and I was in Florida at training camp, and I got picked up on the waiver draft. He got picked up on the waiver draft. And so we're going into the regular season, and it was Barry Trotz as a head coach, and we get bagged every single day. Like Thomas Volkun is the goalie. I wasn't playing. I think I played 15, 17 games that year. Like nothing, so I was there to like
Yeah.
be my role. And I was just happy to be in the NHL. So we got like, there was the whole week, the adrenaline, just you're finally going to make the NHL as a full-time player. And we're getting bagged after bag after bag. And then all of a sudden we're going to go to the Titans game on Sunday. Sunday, we go to the rink, just get bagged. We get our first paycheck and we're walking over. Like, so we get it, like pick it up in our mail spot and we open it up. And
No direct
yeah, we're
deposit
both
back
like
then, eh,
league
bud?
minimum. Yeah, there's no direct deposit. It's like you have to go to do the old school, go deposit it, sign it in the back. And we're just like so tired. It was just him and I. So we're walking over to Titan Stadium. We're going across. We're like, should we open it? And we're like, yeah. And then we both open it, and Brookie goes, fucking bag me all you want. I was so tired, and I was thinking exactly, I just died. We just both died laughing. It was hilarious. It was like, that's league minimum. You go from making $40,000, $35,000 a year to, I think at that time it was like 400,000, which is a lot of money, but not, in the NHL now, but it was just, holy shit. Was that funny?
Well, he was a guy that had to
Yeah.
battle. That's the big thing I look at now is how do guys stand out? Like of course there's so many skilled players, but it used to be like you can go out and fight. I still think there's a lot of scouts that are looking for that grit, that determination, get nose dirty around the net. But you can't just go out and chuck them and fight like Brookbank did. Like he went out there and proved himself every day, fighting or doing whatever it took. It's hard now. These guys are skilled and they got to make plays, but then they got to play within their game. It's more of a learning curve. But I think that's the one of the toughest things for these young guys to do is to step up when it matters, when you're playing against NHL talent in the preseason. But speaking of that, why don't we hit it? PK Subban came out and was real upset about Patrick Laine getting hit. What did you think of that hit? And what do you? We got to dig into the responsibility of a younger guy playing against veterans. Uh, I don't think. I hope he didn't do that on purpose, but man, that's tough on preseason when you got a guy like Patrick Laine who's trying to build some excitement and get back into his career, and then he takes that step back with a knee
Yeah,
injury.
that's really tough. I think Subban's been very outspoken in his new role as a analyst with ESPN. But some of them I agree with, some of I don't. This one I really agree with. I think, but it's tough. But I think that's the preseason talk that we're going back to. I'm like, this kid, what was his name? Something Pare. I can't remember his. Anyway, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It might in the future.
Well, PK said, "I'm not going there. I'm not going to the game to
Yeah.
see you. I'm going to see Patrick Laine." You have to have respect for that,
But should he though?
you can't take
No, you
that.
can't take the hit. You can't.
Well,
That's the debate, right? He's trying to make a name for himself.
that's the question.
And to your point before, how do you make a name for yourself? Well, it's not cheap shotting a superstar. He's probably thinking, I'm assuming, in a split second, he's like, "Oh my God, I'm going to get danced so hard here. I better get a piece of him." And obviously, it was awful. But you do have to recognize that one play is not going to define your career. But having said that, I don't know if somebody that's coming in and trying to make a team is thinking that, because they're thinking, this is my chance. This is my opportunity. I have to make a name and I can't mess this up. I'm potentially going to mess this up if he dances around me on the penalty kill and I look like an idiot.
Right.
So it's a tough one to really Monday morning quarterback, because you don't want to hit those guys. You don't want to hurt those guys. But when you're a competitor and you're going against someone, I mean, you played against some, Lemieux and Yager
Well,
and
that
this
was my
and
role.
you had to play against those
That
guys.
was
So
my
you're like,
job.
I'm not going to be nice to this guy. That's how I make my name. I don't make my name by stopping, Joe Schmo on a breakaway. I make my name by stopping, back in my day, Paul Correa, Timo Solani, all those kind of guys, Joe Sakic. Like, so it's tough. But any cheap shot, you have to be accountable for. And whether people like fighting in the game, well, that's what takes all that cheap crap out of it. Is if you're accountable, the next time you're not going to do it, but you probably should.
Immediate
Yeah,
accountability. Immediate accountability. If you get fined 3 or 4 days later, who
yeah.
cares? If you hit someone and you get punched in the face 17 times, you tend not to do it. It's
That's the
just human
deterrent.
nature,
You don't want to
you know.
get exactly.
And
It's if you're going to do it, you
and
should.
my role as a shutdown defenseman in the NHL was to play against the best players, and I was allowed to play hard. Actually, I think the best players in the world like it when you play hard. Playing against Yager, Lemieux, Gretzky, all the way down Crosby, Ovechkin, they want to have someone battle hard. They're competitors and they love it. I think they thrive on, like, okay, I got a big game. This guy's going to come at me and we're going to play hard. The second, and this is back when, Lemieux, Yager, Gretzky days, if you touched them with any intent of hurting them, you got a guy right in your ear. If I went after Matt Sundin, Ty Domi was going to jump over the boards and as fast as he could cross check me in the face. So you knew how to deal with that and you learned quick. And now I think the NHL with fines, okay, that's great. But there's got to be a level of accountability, and that, the instigator rule that was put in where you can't go and start a fight. I think it at times it hurts the game. And so I think PK is talking about a level of respect for veterans. I totally 100% agree with that. But there's also got to be a level of respect from the veteran to the rookie that I'm trying to make my name here. Get your head
Yeah,
up, because you can't just float through
that's a
games.
great
These
point.
preseason games, you can't float through them. You have to play them. You have to respect that kid needs to play hard against you. Now, I think the kid went over the line with the leg check on line A, but I think line A has to respect the fact that he's going to go hard, but
Yeah,
that's just
no,
too
that's a
much.
great point. I think that is the point in this. Is the topic that you brought up is, how does a rookie approach it opposed to a veteran? Obviously, the intentions and the meaning of each game and training camp's not the same, but you have to, as a veteran, you have to respect that. Hey, there's guys out there. I was one of those guys. I'm talking about Line A. Maybe he wasn't because he was the second overall pick or whatever, but there's guys out there trying to make a name and trying to achieve their dreams. I got to give them the respect and the game that, maybe I'm not going to go balls to the wall,
Yeah,
but I'm going to go out there and I know someone's probably going to try to take my head off because I want the puck a lot. I want to get, I want to get into it and be ready for the regular season.
yeah,
So I'm going to keep my head up. I'm going to, be ready for someone trying to, come after me and give the game, I guess, in essence, the respect it deserves. And maybe he didn't. I think a lot of players now, it's when you go through the middle of the ice, and you never want to see a dirty hit, but the reality is there's going to be times where guys don't mean to do it, but they're going to do it. You have to protect yourself. Just like when you're walking across the street, you don't walk across the street and don't look to see if there's any cars coming. You know that they
you
should
can.
probably stop and not, keep going. But
Pay
you're
the
going to,
price
yeah.
for it. You only get to do that so many times.
Yeah, I did that when I was younger, and it doesn't. I got away with it, but you never know if you're playing with fire on that one. But that's a great point.
Yeah. Yeah, PK, shout out to
Yeah,
PK for bringing that up because I think
it
it
really
is a good
is.
point. Something that a lot of people have been discussing for years, but it was good. I do like his analysis. Not always, not on his clothes and his swag. Like, come on, settle down, PK.
We'll get into that
But
too.
but
But
on
we're older
in
though.
the hockey stuff,
He's
I'll
like
deal
newer
with that one.
generation, so we'll have to
Yeah,
tear it
PK
down
GQ.
to the generational stuff because some stuff that all
Yeah,
the kids think looks good, and I'll come out wearing something, and my daughters they'll just look at me like, "Oh my god, you're embarrassing."
yeah. You're a
I'm actually
fashionista
not.
though. You're right up
I'm
there with
not.
PK.
He is
Yeah.
though.
Give me a black suit and a black tie and call me and I'm
Yeah.
on my way. All right, Mace, I've been dying to ask you this. Where does the diet stand? Because maybe I should let you explain your carnivore diet that we had to endure last year. Hey, Mace, what do you feel like eating? Oh, steak, bacon, just just an absolute beast of a diet. Where is it now? And can explain to the listeners your diet, your
Yeah.
carnivore
Well,
diet.
we talked about this. This is a lot about, kind of how diets have changed in the evolution of hockey and what guys eat now. But I always want to try new things. I'm always like looking for either fitness stuff to just get me into something that I can really stick with, that I can get on board. So I'm like, you know what? I tried, I don't know if it was vegan or whatever it was, but I tried that for 30 days back. Actually, it was in the lockout when you and I were teammates. I just wanted to see if I could do it. I
Yeah,
did
I
it.
remember
I
that.
didn't love it. I didn't love how I felt. I only gave that 30 days. Maybe you need to give it more.
Mace, you shouldn't eat your food's food.
That's a good point.
Don't never
That's a
eat your
good
food's
point.
food.
So I got into one of these things.
That's
The old Instagram, something came up and it was like carnivore diet. I'm like, whoa, what the hell is this? So I started looking into it, and then I'm like a researcher. So I'll go on YouTube and I'll be like, yeah, watch this doctor, this person, this person, this person. And I'm like, okay. I'm going to try it. So I did it, and it was crazy. It was the first week. There's days where you don't feel good because I guess when it's like the elimination diet, I'm eliminating everything from my diet except for meat and eggs. That's pretty much all I ate for the first 10 days was eggs in the morning with bacon, and then a ribeye at night at 6. I'd eat twice a day. So 11 o'clock in the morning, I would eat my breakfast, and then 6 o'clock at night, I would eat my steak. And there were some days where I felt like absolute crap. And they said this, so I was ready for it. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to stick to it. But after that, and I was in decent shape. I didn't really have to, I probably could have lost like 5 pounds to be in good shape or whatever. 2 weeks in, 11 pounds down, felt unbelievable. Just like the clarity of mind and everything. And it was incredible. But so I did it for 3 months, completely disciplined, cut down on, drinking. The only thing, if I ever wanted to drink, I drink like a little bit of whiskey or something like that, straight alcohol that doesn't have any carbs or sugar in it. No sugar, no desserts, nothing. I felt incredible. I felt strong, but I also at the same
You look like an old Greyhound bus seat is what you did. You were
I was,
shredded.
yeah. I'm still in good shape, but
Yeah.
I changed it so I do more of an animal based diet where you get your carbs from either like sourdough bread or honey or fruit. But I still do a version of it, and I cheat every now and then, like the odd day, like we had pizza last week, and some peanut butter protein balls, which you shouldn't have. I guess peanut butter is not good for you anymore. I just found out, but so I got to delete those from the who knows, right?
Don't
Yeah,
tell
I don't
me
know.
that.
But anyway, it changed the way I eat now, and I feel great. And I try to add things. I don't eat as many vegetables as I used to. I used to love vegetables, and I found, and who knows what to believe anymore. Some of those have some inflammatory things depending on the person.
Right.
So I think you have to do it. The best thing that I did was strip down, and then you'd add things back in and see how you responded to whatever you're adding back in, and then try to find a balance. And I feel that I'm a good balance right now, but still working on it for sure.
Yeah. It was interesting. Well, just in full disclosure, it was a pain in the ass in my lifestyle because I'd be like, "What are we gonna do for dinner tonight?" And you're like, "I guess we're going for a steak." Like, there's no other options. Um, and I'm all for that. I'm all for a good steak, but I can't eat that much. I eat more fish than I used to. When I was playing, I would dummy a porterhouse, and it was a soup, salad, appetizer,
Oh,
porterhouse. On the way home, I get a Subway sandwich. I was just feeding the beast. I would eat everything, and then now, I'll go out and hey, we're on a road budget. We're not going to the same restaurants we used to go to, and now we're saddle up at a bar and have wings and a six pack and call it a day. So that's more my diet. But I don't eat as much as carbs. But uh, I think there's something to be said for just leaning down and what you did. And obviously, if you feel good, then it works for you, right? That's the
yeah,
bottom
and
line.
at the end of the day,
The funny, the best one was when we were in Chicago. We go to a pub, and I'm like, I'm not going to eat here. I don't want to eat pub food. I'd rather go get like even if I go to a restaurant, just order a piece of fish. Just like I don't need a full entree, appetizer, everything. I just want something to eat. And you were like, no, we'll just eat here. And I turned around, and you had 6 stacks of burgers on a plate. Six,
yeah,
six of them, just stacked up burgers. The the best was the waiter looking at you going, you do understand, you told me you want 6 burgers stacked
yeah,
up, and you just sat there like they were pancakes and
yeah. They
wolfed
were.
them
I
down.
know
It's such a
it
savage
is. It's
move,
actually
man.
embarrassing, and the
Savage.
looks that you get from the who's ever serving that night is pretty interesting. But I
or,
know.
or when we go for lunch, we were in Vancouver for lunch. What did you say? It was like a
Yeah,
brunch, and you go, I want, uh, give me 6 eggs over easy and bacon. And the guy
yeah.
was like, did you just say 6 eggs? Yes. But just, I don't
I
care how
know.
they come over
And
easy,
the
right? Just slap them down on my plate and with a
yeah,
side
and
of
we're gonna
bacon.
do the cholesterol thing because I did it actually after the first 10 days. I did this whatever genetic like blood testing, all these tests, and I have another one coming up. So we'll get the blood results because that's the biggest thing, right? Is what's good
Yeah.
cholesterol, what's bad cholesterol. My AC13, which is the diabetes thing, all that was good, but I think it was the HDL cholesterol was really high. But I guess the one that matters is when you put them all together, and that was fine. But that was over a year ago that I did that test. So maybe I'll do that test and we can break it down just to see if I'm an idiot or if it's like there's something there or not. I don't know. I don't know. I feel good, so it should be.
Well, I'm in the middle of a
Oh, are
cleanse,
you?
so I'll see where
What's the
my diet
cleanse?
goes
What's the
after
cleanse?
that. I I always usually take one day of fast, and then I
The whole
reintroduce
day?
food. It's just a simple, yeah, I just a fast for a day, and then it's the first time you do it, it's hard. But if you look around, every religion, every culture has some sort of a fast. There's a reason. It's just you shut your body down and it gives yourself a chance. And so you do a fast for a day, and then you add in some fruits, vegetables, and then as you go you start to whittle down. Like, the best part about it is you just feel your stomach contract, and it's over. Like your body totally resets, and then you can build up. And I tell you what, if I get, after 2 days of fasting, if I see a plate of spinach, it's like the best thing that ever happened. It just like put that's the best thing. It's amazing. Broccoli, oh,
I
amazing.
that's awesome. I've heard
But
those are actually really
yeah,
good because it helps also kill off the senescent cells, the zombie cells, and regenerates your whole system actually, and disease and
bless you.
inflammation.
I don't know what you just said. You threw a lot of
Well,
words out there. I don't know
disease and
anything about that.
inflammation resides and all that kind of stuff. But I just that's because I got a colonoscopy a few years ago, so I had to do it for 48 hours, which is crazy. But and back then it was that was about 3 or 4 years ago. But I was craving uh, boneless buffalo wings. I don't know why, but
Yeah,
that was 2 days of that, and
yeah.
yeah. Anyway, that's another topic. But that's good. I should try to do that. So
Oh,
do you drink water? Like any electrolytes are in there?
yeah, you can do it. You can do it on any level you want. You just try to drink water. You drink a ton of water, and it flushes out your system, and then you reintroduce foods. So Day 2, you do green vegetables. Day 3, you do fruits and vegetables. Day 4, you bring in, you know, steamed fish or
Wow.
steamed chicken, you know, some sort of protein. Try to do without red meat, which is going to be tough for you. Not bringing in red meat until just because it's
Yeah.
harder to digest. You know, you just wait off on that for 7 days. And shout out to Matt Nickel, the
The
strength
best.
coach in Toronto. That I'm still doing it, Maddie. I'm still doing it. He said you need to do a reset, and I did it, and I'm
That's
still
awesome.
doing it
That's
once a
awesome.
year.
That's awesome.
Once a
He's a
year.
great guy. We got to get him on. We'll get him on as a guest one time too. And
One of the smartest
yeah,
people
he's
you ever
incredible
meet.
and a great
You know?
guy too. I know you know him well, but I met him,
Yeah.
a few times on the road in our travels in Toronto. We've had some good nights, conversations. I love that guy.
Yeah. Just a beauty. All right, Mace, let's move on. We got to talk about training because I know. I mean, talk about being the better man. You're just working on yourself all the time, and then you came out of the blue and started training for what were you doing? Jiu-jitsu?
I tried jujitsu, and when you're trying to be a better man, that means you got a lot of stuff to work on. So that's I recognize that about myself. And one of the hardest things I think, and tell me if you don't relate to this, is when I retired. Probably the biggest thing was I didn't have a platform to compete. I had nobody to compete with. I just didn't have that thing that
Yeah.
I feel like that was my everything in my life at one point. Was I just love to compete. You know that we go on the road, if we play cornhole and darts and whatever it
Yeah.
is, we're not just playing for fun. We're playing to win. But I think
Yeah.
that's ingrained in your DNA, and I know that is for me. And I really struggled with that a lot. And I took up, pickleball. I'd played when I was my parents actually played, which was, a long time ago. And then it became a thing. I'm like, you know what, I can do this. I tried to do arm wrestling. I tried to do all these things. Arm wrestling, you don't want to do because that's I couldn't even throw a tennis ball for 6 months after I went into an arm wrestling tournament. Stupidest thing. But, you know, so I thought, you know what, jujitsu is a good way where you can still have that physical contact and learn something that I had no idea how to do. And it was a very, I would say, nerve-wracking thing the first time I went into the jiu-jitsu. Was Gracie Barra up in Franklin. The first time I went in there, there's a lot of etiquette things you have to learn, how to even tie the belt. You wear a gi and tie the your belt the right way, the way that you step onto the mat, and you bow, and just the respect level. But I'll tell you what, it was amazing. I did it for probably 3 months ish before I kind of injured myself and I had to take a step back with my back stuff. We've talked about that before, but
Yeah.
and probably wasn't a smart thing. I hurt my back and my hand, what you're going to do when you do something that is like that. But it gave me that rush. I just couldn't wait to go every day and learn something new. And I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything. And the guys there and girls there too, everybody that was there was just phenomenal in the way that, like anything is with fighting or martial arts, but especially the respect level of, you're going out and you're trying to obviously beat the person however you beat them, get them in a submission. For me, it was, survival. They're like, you're a white belt, you don't know anything, just try to survive, right? Don't get tapped out, this kind of
Right.
situation. But it really gave me that back where I felt like it was you're competing against yourself, trying to control your breathing, trying to not have that other person tap you out until you go against a professor, which is a black belt with a bunch of different it was crazy. The one guy I went with, he's like, do you want to see how many different ways I can choke you out? I'm like, sure. It's like this. It's like every
Yes,
which
please.
way, and I was like, oh my god! But I was amazed by it. It's like anything. It's like a guy that's a beer league player coming out and's like, all right, Skillsy, I saw you play. Like, let's go 1-on-1. Okay,
Yeah.
you can't do it. You're not a professional, and I didn't think that I was, because I know, but it was a very invigorating experience, and I'm going to want to get back into that once I get fully healthy. Actually, I think I am now, so I might start doing it again. But it was just it gave me that rush back. I absolutely loved it.
Yeah, you missed that. And everyone says, and I get a lot like, oh, I'm so competitive. Like, why? How come you're not competitive? Because if I get competitive, you're gonna know about it. Like it's not a healthy thing. It's not fun to go if I get competitive, and we'll play. we always play shuffleboard, and you and I are always teammates, and we're competitive, and like it gets fiery, but I have to
Yeah.
control it. Like I can't go over the
No.
top. And I'll tell you a story. I retired, and I was living in Massachusetts, and a group of guys were like, "Hey, we're gonna play some flag football," and so I get out there. And I'm like, this is going to be fun. We'll snap it around. I used to play football. I don't know if I told you that 500,000 times that I was a quarterback.
Tom
Probably could
Brady
have been
better than, but whatever.
pretty sweet. Probably better than Tom Brady, but whatever. Uh, but so I'm all fired up. I'm excited to go play. And this is like a year or two after retirement. I'm still in shape. I'm still like ready to go. And we get out there, and like I'm coming off the line, and this guy like pops me and like blocks me, and I was like, whoa. Like, he actually made contact with me, and I was like, okay, like this is different. And then all of a sudden this game started amping up, and these are all like dads and just normal guys, like a couple athletes mixed in, but like just normal guys. And so I got pushed, I got shoved, and then I started to get into it a little bit, and then I like the wires. I don't want to say they're crossed, but I started to get over
Yeah.
the edge, and so I catch a pass. I'm running down. One guy dives for a flag. I look, and there's another guy trying to cut me off, so I try to jump over him, get my elbow right into his teeth, and he spits his teeth all over the place. And I'm like standing there, and what is that? Way to
Yeah.
go,
Oh, yeah.
father. Like that's the whole feeling I had, and I'm like, I'm that guy. Oh, and everyone's like, oh, the guy. I'm like, dude, I'm so sorry. And he's like, oh, what the hell? Oh, he picks up his teeth and gets in the car and drives away. And I was that
But I think
jackass
that's
that
on them.
took it
Well,
over the
if you
top.
there's nothing
My
like the guy that wants to go after the athlete and say, and I could do this. But
Yeah,
then once you do it, it's like if you mess with, yeah.
thank you, Mace. I've been feeling awful about it for a long
Well,
time
you don't want
because
to hurt
I had a
anyone.
lot of friends that were like, "Dude,
But
that
if you want to
wasn't
enter the
cool."
arena
Like,
like that and
like
make it that way, and just you want to go full bore, if you better expect the other person's full bore. So, was it
yeah,
mess with the bull, you get the horns?
you
Don't
got
mess
that
with the
right, baby.
bull. Don't mess
I
with
was,
Skillsy.
I, I was no, that was wrong. That was wrong on my part. But anyway, I think finding that whether you're playing games or playing tennis, any competitive edge, I think I do miss that, and I try to, I hit the heavy bag, try to like blow off some steam, but there's nothing quite like man
Yeah,
to man, like you go,
yeah,
I go. And every time I play in an alumni game, I get into, I get the skates on and I start to feel it again. And it's like just a little hint
yeah.
of it
And
feels
stuff
good.
that like counts, that matters. You know what I mean? It's you talk about the preseason, regular season, playoffs. There's different levels to how much it means, because if I'm playing something for fun, like you said, I used to be bad when I was younger. I had to win everything, or I wouldn't, but I would feel that. And as you get older and you're playing board games with your mom and your grandma and your dad, you're like, all right, you gotta tailor it down and kind of know the room a little bit. But there's not that outlet for us anymore. I still don't, as much as I love challenges, and fitness is maybe one of those that I have now. But it's still like it's a competition with myself, and it's more about being consistent. I can't like
Yeah.
go against myself and
Yeah.
say, yeah, baby, I'm not winning. I am, essentially, because I'm being consistent. So it's a good thing that I'm developing, good habits. And that was hard enough to do in its own right. But you don't have that one-on-one team competition where if I lose this game, it's going to sting real bad. And if I win, it's going to be the best feeling where you give everything that you have and you win the game, and then you get to do it again 2 days later. We don't have that
Yeah.
anymore. Maybe we never will.
Yeah. Yeah. I watched the USA golf team just win the President's Cup. What side were you on? You on Canada
The
and
international, the
international
world.
side, or were you American now?
I got to
Yeah,
figure
of
that out.
course.
I got to
Mike
figure.
Weir,
Yeah.
Mike Weir, Mike
Where's
Weir
he?
forever. Anyway, they said it. They came out. They're like, hey, we don't play a team sport, so now we're in a team atmosphere. It's so fun to be pushed by your teammates, and your teammates push you, and you push them back, and you try
Yeah.
to get better as a team. And that's what we're looking for. So if there's any ideas, anyone has any ideas of how
Well,
I can
I
be
think pickleball's one where
pro awesome team without knocking someone's teeth
what
out,
we
that
got to
would be
do is we
great.
got to start a broadcaster Olympics or something like that. Pickleball, we really got into. Remember, we got into before the COVID and all that. We'd bring our paddles every trip and we'd play, and that was great. Obviously, it's a good way to stay in shape a little bit, have some fun, and you get the competitive juices going. But I think that
Yeah.
we could probably take a step in that department. The coaches play.
Yeah, we got
Yeah,
to
we do,
step it
because
up a
that's a
little bit.
fun one. That was awesome. And now there's way more places
Yeah.
to play, because that sport's just exploded.
That's right.
So,
That's
maybe
right.
have to take on. We'll have to throw some challenges out there to the other broadcasters or podcasters, and we'll do a pickleball thing. Yeah,
I'm
so
in.
we can maybe
I'm
do
in.
that.
I'm your
Go
ride
over
or
to
die,
Chicklets,
buddy.
do the hockey, the road
I'll
hockey
follow you.
tournament, which is hilarious. That is next level.
I don't know if I'm
No,
ready
but
for that.
pickleball,
That seems
pickleball
like
or
a lot of work, but
dodgeball.
the
We could
road
go.
hockey,
Yeah,
pickleball, I
pickleball. We
can
can. Yeah,
handle.
we don't have to do the street
Small
hockey,
motor
but
skills.
pickleball we could, and I think we should do that. I think we should start a tourney.
All right, it's in. Well, Mace, we've talked a lot. What else do you have to say?
Not much. I'm just episode 2, so we're wrapping up here. So I think it was a good start, and yeah, therapeutic. It was. I got a lot of stuff. I think we got some stuff out. We cleansed a little bit.
We got a lot to unpack.
Not only did you cleanse your insides, you cleanse the spiritual part too.
It's a deep cleanse. All right, that's a wrap, Mace. Thanks for listening, guys. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review, and follow us on social media for all things Bagchucker.
Cheers, everyone.